Where's your water today? Just what is happening with our area water supply? We'll have a report.
Another bank robbery in Mamaroneck. A car chase in Larchmont.
Anti-abortion forces plan a walk for life in Mamaroneck.
A Larchmont village trustee resigns and a village police officer is demoted.
Plus, we'll have interviews with the mayor of Mamaroneck and the town supervisor. Hello and welcome to Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Roger Norham.
And I'm Barbara Brown. First, the problem of discolored water in Mamaroneck and Harrison came to an end last Tuesday. Officials report that they have reopened the water line that provides 75% of water to the two towns. The problem was caused by a massive air bubble which blocked the line. Pipeline Tapping Services in Norwalk, Connecticut is scheduled to install 2 air vents on the line which runs from Yonkers to Mamaroneck. The company is flying parts for the work from Texas. During the shortfall, the Connecticut company tapped into New Rochelle Water Company lines and increased its draw from the Rye Lake Reservoir. Authorities believe the problem arose because New York City, which provides water to the vast majority of Westchester County, is bypassing the Kensico Reservoir in Valhalla because of new federal regulations which came into effect this year.
A few days before the new year ended, neighboring New Rochelle experienced a spectacular fire that caused more than $1.5 million in damage and destroyed several businesses along Main Street and North Avenue in New Rochelle. The fire began in the Biltmore Wine and Liquor Store and quickly spread to the other businesses. 19 firefighters were treated for smoke inhalation and other injuries. The freezing weather didn't help matters. Overall, 75 firemen fought the blaze, which has now been determined to be a case of arson. Cardboard crates in the liquor store were soaked with a flammable liquid. No arrests have been made. Our thanks to Roy Pluchik, who shot the video of that spectacular fire in New Rochelle. Barbara?
It seems like a revolving trustee seat in Larchmont. More on that story, here's Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Monique Citron.
After only 7 months, Larchmont trustee Kevin Ryan has resigned from village government. He will be replaced by William J. McSherry, who will finish the term, which expires in 3 months. Ryan, who had been filling in for another trustee who resigned in April, said the position requires and deserves more attention than he can devote. During the past 7 months, Ryan helped organize a reward for the capture of the rapist and worked on the decision to buy a new fire truck. McSherry, who is a 44-year-old village independent, has served on the Village Zoning Board of Appeals for almost 4 years. He has a partner in a Manhattan law firm and lives in Larchmont with his wife Betty and 3 sons.
Thanks, Monique.
A couple days after Christmas, there was a bank robbery in the Rye Neck section of Mamaroneck. Police say $6,000 was taken by an armed bank robber and his accomplice from the manufacturer's Hanover Bank branch on the Boston Post Road in Fashion Plaza, just next to the CVS store. The robbery happened shortly after the bank opened Friday, December 27th. A small caliber handgun was used by one of the robbers while the other jumped over the counter and emptied a cash drawer. They fled up Harrison Avenue to Keeler, jumping into a late model sports car. 7 bank workers were in the branch at the time and 2 customers. No one was hurt. It was the second bank robbery in the village in 4 months. Last October, the Citibank branch, just a couple blocks away, also on the Post Road, was robbed of $3,000. Barbara?
Larchmont police officer Michael Welsh had a busy time lately. This began with 2 car chases through the village, which culminated in the arrest of 2 Massachusetts teenagers in 2 stolen cars with 2 loaded shotguns. Lee Chambers, 16, and William Gerard, 17, were charged with felony counts of 3rd-degree larceny, 4th-degree criminal possession of stolen property, and 4th-degree criminal possession of weapons.
In Larchmont, 15-year police department veteran Anthony Orologio was demoted to patrolman last week after working nearly 2 years as a detective on the force. The police department is not officially explaining the move, which in effect cuts Orologio's salary by $2,500 a year. We tried phoning Orologio, but he had not spoken with us by airtime. The Daily Times newspaper quotes him as saying that his gruff personality has caused him problems in Larchmont. Apparently, it's a matter of style. Orologio says he does his job, and to him that's more important that the job gets done than how it's done. Police Captain Michael Garcia is quoted saying, "Officer Orologio is an excellent worker, and the demotion was not related in any way to job performance." Barbara?
Larchmont Police want in-house televised instruction. Chief William Keresy has asked village officials for more than $4,000 annually to pipe the law enforcement television network into his department. This would enable police to learn on the job on a daily basis. In-house learning includes subjects such as rape investigations, child abuse, excessive use of force, and high-speed pursuit. The programs can be seen 24 hours a day at a cost of $388 per month. 4 Westchester County Police Departments already receive the 2-year-old service: Peekskill, White Plains, North Castle, and Greenberg. The Larchmont Board of Trustees have not yet made a decision as to whether or not to fund the program. A familiar face stays in the TV limelight to help our area with its new franchise agreement with the cable company. Larchmont Mamaroneck community news reporter Jamie Stein has the story.
Thanks, Barbara. December was an especially good news month for one Mamaroneck resident, Joseph P. Frioli. The name sound familiar? Yes, he's the same Joseph Frioli who served as Mamaroneck Village Manager for 9 years, then became the center of a political storm and was finally ousted. Now Frioli is wanted back by the same village board that let him go 2 years ago, this time reappointed as Larchmont Mamaroneck Cable Television Administrator. It seems nobody here is more qualified for the job than Mr. Frioli, and the vote was unanimously all in favor by the village board. Why this turnabout? Because Mr. Frioli has been in on all the cable TV negotiations in the local area from the very beginning. And 2 years from now, the current agreement between United Artists Cable of Westchester and our own Larchmont Mamaroneck Cable TV station expires. And there is a lot of money at stake. UA Cable is about to undertake a $24.5 million expansion project, which would mean more cable channels and possibly an increase in subscription fees. And those increases are what Frioli has consistently opposed. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Jamie Stein. Roger?
Thanks, Jamie. New officers for the town of Mamaroneck Fire Department. Monique Citron has that and more.
The town of Mamaroneck Fire Department held its annual election in December. The new chief is Louis Santoro. Santoro is an ex-captain of Engine Company 36. He lives in Mamaroneck with his wife Nancy and daughter Amanda and son Nicholas. The new first deputy is Michael Doherty. Doherty is an ex-captain of Engine Company 37. Doherty is a Mamaroneck resident where he lives with his wife Roxanne, daughter Jessica, and 2 sons, Patrick and Peter. The newly elected second deputy is Joseph C. Mirabella. Mirabella is also an ex-captain of Engine Company 37. Mirabella lives in Mamaroneck town with his wife Regina and 2 children, Jennifer and Joseph Jr. The swearing-in is this week, Wednesday, January 8th, at the town board meeting at the town center at 8:15 p.m. Congratulations.
The new year and some other familiar faces take another oath of office. Larchmont Mamaroneck community news reporter Eileen Deutsch has the details.
On Sunday, December 29th, 100 people observed Mamaroneck Town Justice David Klein swearing Caroline Silverstone for Town Supervisor, Kathleen Tracy O'Flynn, Elaine Price, and Paul Ryan on Town Council, Pat DiCiaccio, Town Clerk, and Martin King Jr. as Town Justice. This weekend, Nancy St. Leifer and myself, Eileen Deutsch, we went out to the village of Mamaroneck and we asked people from Larchmont and all over what some of their New Year's resolutions were.
Hi, what's your name?
Elaine Doses.
Hal Doses.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New
I
Year
happen to know them.
Right.
What's your New Year's resolutions?
Well, actually, we don't really have, usually I don't make New Year's resolutions, and this is not really a resolution, and I don't want to put a damper on anything, but it's a hope. It's a hope that my daughter is completely well for the new year.
I don't know.
Yeah, a couple. Tried to be a little better citizen than I was in 1990.
To wake up early in the morning, because I'm always late for work.
Every day?
No, not every day.
Okay, you have any New Year's resolutions? You know what a New Year's resolution is?
No.
Oh, okay. Then how could you have one? You might have one.
I think to be more considerate and kind to my fellow human beings, I think we all should welcome in the new year with all the great things that we have here in the United States.
Thanks, Eileen.
Yonkers and Mamaroneck, a familiar name these days. Yonkers Contracting doing a lot of construction work in the village. The sewer plant renovation and the revised interchange construction at I-95 and Mamaroneck Avenue. Contracts worth over $100 million in the presence of Yonkers Contracting in the village until at least early 1993 is going to be here. There have been a few incidents lately that have not made village residents too pleased to have Yonkers Contracting around. With us on Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News is the mayor of Mamaroneck, Paul Noto, to discuss the situation. Mayor Noto, the newspaper has made what seems to be some sort of big deal about not too friendly relationship in the friendly village between Mamaroneck and Yonkers Contracting. There's quite a history there, isn't there?
Well, we had a problem recently. Since the Harbor Island Park project had begun, things had pretty much settled down. We have them working and cleaning it up a little bit. In light of the fact that it's a $110 million construction job, we understand there's going to be some inconvenience. The real problem occurred with the Thruway project when Yonkers had gone to some homes up in Harbor Heights and requested entry to videotape the inside of people's homes as part of a pre-blasting survey. And they had done so under the guise that the village had required a videotape of the inside of people's homes, which was absolutely not true. I had gotten some complaints and immediately contacted Yonkers and told them that, in fact, they know better than to say that. I then contacted the homeowners and explained to them that they do not have to let people into their homes to videotape the inside. We do require a pre-blasting survey, but that does not require a videotape of the inside of one's home. So I think we've resolved it, but Yonkers, I think, used very poor judgment in trying to gain entry into people's homes.
What are we looking to when the Thruway project will be complete?
Well, they're not going to begin blasting probably till April of this year, so I don't think they'll be out before November or December, so probably the end of this year.
And the sewer plant project, that's going
about the same
spring of next year.
Well, we hope by January or February of '93 they'll be completed, which is ahead of schedule. It had been a 4-year project. So, in fact, we're very pleased that they have moved as quickly as they have at Harbor Island because we'd like to get them out as soon as we can.
Okay, on other matters in the Mamaroneck Village, I understand that, well, we have an election coming up in March, and I understand Trustee Beth Hofstetter is not going to seek re-election.
That's what I was told today, yes.
And, of course, you and Trustee Rogers are not up for re-election. What are Republican plans for the coming election?
Well, we haven't selected our candidates yet. It's a little early, but I think it'll be a vigorous campaign. Certainly, we will be discussing some of the issues that Walter and I discussed last year. But more importantly, I think we'll be focusing on the future, some of the things we'd like to see done. Like most communities, we're suffering under the recession. I think a lot of people are hurting. We'd like to do what we can about applying the sales tax revenue to the budget to get taxes down. I think we're going to be discussing, at least outside of the campaign, the village will be addressing over the next year some very important budgetary issues. For example, the Sarah Newman Nursing Home is now coming off the tax rolls. It was purchased by a nonprofit entity, which is a lot of assessments taking off the rolls next year. Things like that. We'd like to get the Pure Food site up and going. We'd like to get the Burnout site up and going. We'd like to, we're happy to see senior housing finally completed.
And when is that senior housing project going to be complete?
This month. Well, people will be moving in within the next 2 weeks. So, in fact, it's moved along very nicely. I'm very proud of the fact that we're able to get it done. It has taken a lot of time, a lot of people hours, but it's worth it in the long run.
Our thanks to Mamaroneck Village Mayor Paul Noto for being with us on Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. Mamaroneck Village Assessor Bud Wright is retiring after 27 years of service. He leaves at a time when fluctuating real estate values are severely hurting village property tax revenues. Gone are the happy heydays of the 80s. Despite his retirement, Mr. Wright will be rehired by the village as a part-time consultant to work on tax settlement cases at a salary of $9,000. Mayor Noto is keen on this idea, though this view is not necessarily shared by everyone on the village board.
Anti-abortion, the message, continues from the pulpit of Father Joseph Irwin at Most Holy Trinity Church on the Post Road in Mamaroneck. Father Irwin has put up a new anti-abortion sign in front of the church, after the previous one was stolen Halloween night. And a couple of Saturday mornings back, an anti-abortion vigil was held at the creche on the church lawn. About 50 people attended the 15-minute vigil, and the Reverend Irwin plans what he's calling a walk for life. It'll be a march with parishioners to a village doctor's office that Father Irwin says is the site of where abortions have been performed. Stay tuned. 1991 was quite a year for the town of Mamaroneck, and the work is cut out already for 1992. To get a preview of the year ahead on the town, so to speak, we spoke with Town Supervisor Caroline Silverstone. Caroline, on everybody's mind in 1992 is obviously money and taxes. What's the town doing about taxes going up and up and up?
Well, let me just say that the money problems trickle down from the federal level to the state level to the county level to the local level. We find that it's the income that's drying up. We used to have federal revenue sharing, we used to have state revenue sharing. Those things are gone. So now it's really up to us on the local level to get the money from our local people that it takes to run the schools and run the government. And it's been increasingly difficult. We're going to be much more frugal than we've ever been before, and we think we've always run a tight government, but we'll be more frugal. And we will also be quite aggressive about going after property owners who have not paid their taxes.
Are there a lot of people who are not paying their taxes?
There are quite a few people. It's a core of people who are late in paying their taxes. They eventually pay, but they're late, and they seem to think that the municipality can be their banker and lend them money, but it makes it tough on all other taxpayers.
Our thanks to Mamaroneck Town Supervisor Caroline Silverstone for being with us on Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News.
Now for a financial fact to help you with your 1992 taxes. Financial fact reporter Randy Norham explains.
Thanks, Roger. We're early enough into the new year so that resolutions can still be made, not to be broken. If you're expecting a tax refund, file early. If you anticipate a refund, then you've been making an interest-free loan to Uncle Sam. How unprofitable can you get? The solution is to adjust your withholding allowances for 1992. Ask your employer or your company payroll officer for a W-4 form and complete it as soon as possible. As a final tip, if you're still carrying credit card balances, use your tax refund to pay them off. As of 1991, interest on consumer loans is no longer deductible. Make a resolution to weed out credit card debt for 92 and have a happy, debt-free new year. This is Randy Norham with your financial fact for Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. Barbara?
Thanks, Randy.
And that's it for another edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, our first program of the new year. If you missed any portion of this news show, you can catch it again any weekday night at 7 and again at midnight. Also, there is a new program every Monday.
Another reminder that we are all volunteers here, and it's a fun community activity. If you think you might want to get involved, drop by on a Thursday night in the studios of LMC-TV.
We're in the Palmer Avenue unit of Mamaroneck High School, and we begin our activity here with cameras in front of them and behind them around 7 o'clock. Stop by some Thursday night and say hello. We'd love to see you. Thanks for watching Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Roger Norham.
And I'm Barbara Brown, and we'll see you on this Channel 36 next week.
10-year veteran Mamaroneck trustee Hofstetter stepping down. We'll have an interview.
A lot of water news still flowing. We'll speak with one of the people who control the area spigot.
How to reach your school board and when. We'll have the president of the Mamaroneck School Board.
Are you satisfied with your cable TV service? Either way, we'll let you know how you can let your voice be heard.
Hello and welcome to Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Roger Norham.
And I'm Bill Littauer.
She's been a mainstay on the Mamaroneck Village Board since the early 80s, has been in the minority on the board, and is currently part of the Democrat majority. Now Beth Hofstetter is calling it quits and will not run for re-election to the Village Board in March. We spoke with Beth Hofstetter about her decision.
It's been 5 terms in 10 years, and it's a long time, and I think it's time for a change for me and for the community. I did it at a time when I had the energy and the enthusiasm and the time to do it, and I thought it would be for a certain amount of time to achieve certain goals. I did think it would take less time than it actually did, but I think it's time for others to take over. Nothing is forever, and I certainly don't think public service is something that you should stay in forever. You should give other people the opportunity and yourself an opportunity to do other things.
Looking back on achievements, what are you most proud of?
Well, when I first came into office, I had several goals. One was to help the seniors in the village nutrition site to have a permanent home, which I was luckily able to achieve with work from some others too, within my first term, and that is at the Mamaroneck Town Center, and it just came from there just a few minutes ago. And it's working very well. It's a lovely place, and I achieved that. And then the second thing that I was working on was to get senior housing for the village of Mamaroneck. And through Washingtonville Housing Alliance and et cetera, many other people, that project is finished, and they are interviewing people, and they will be moving in this month, probably in January of '92. So there's a certain, closure to the whole setup. And then, of course, after I was in a short time, I realized that we had a need for a professional village manager, somebody who had municipal and administrative experience. And it took me a long time to get support and for that type of move, but now we have a professional village manager in the person of Matt Galligan.
The Village Democrats have yet to pick a candidate to run for Beth Hofstetter's Village Board seat. They'll caucus in a week or so. They may also be looking for other fresh Democrat faces. The 2 other Democrats on the board have also had their slots up for bid in the March election, and both June Ottinger and Kate Weingarten have not yet committed themselves to running for another term. The only person so far reported to be seriously considering a run in the election is former Village GOP Chairman Joseph Lanza. Lanza is quoted in the Daily Times saying he had not made a final decision but was leaning towards running. Mamaroneck Village trustees are given a $5,000 a year stipend. The term is for 2 years. Also in the March 17 election, voters will cast ballots for village judge, which has a 4-year term and carries a $17,500 a year salary as a part-time position. A view from Guyan Creek Bridge and some news that's leaked from the water company. Here's Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Sven Ome.
The bridge across Guyan Creek on Southbury Road will undergo major repair work this spring. Almost $400,000 will be invested in redoing the bridge, which is 100 years old. About 2,000 cars use the bridge every day. During most of the construction, which is scheduled to take 8 months, traffic will be diverted. Over the last weeks and months, our water has frequently been in the news. Brown and smelling water in some areas of Mamaroneck, high levels of bacteria in some of the reservoirs, problems with water mains, and low water levels in the reservoir system. Once again in our studio to answer all these questions is John Hawk, General Manager for the Westchester Joint Waterworks. And somehow all these problems are related.
Yes, they are. And it all begins with the source of supply, which is the New York City system. And New York City, which has been trying very hard to avoid the necessity to filter its supply, has bypassed Kensico Reservoir in order to bring water down into the city without having that water exposed to levels of bacteria, which under new regulations would have required them to filter the water, these bacteria being in Kensico Reservoir. But in bypassing Kensico Reservoir, air that's entrained in the line on the way down from Rondout Reservoir in the Delaware watershed has no place to escape. Normally it degasses in Kensico Reservoir.
Because the water sits there for a certain time? Or?
That's right. It has a quiescent period of time for the air to gas off. This air, however, remained in the aqueduct and got into our water mains as it did into the mains of the city of Yonkers. And eventually, as the water travels along, the air forms larger and larger bubbles until at a relatively high spot in the main, as it traverses the county, it gets trapped, blocks the water, and reduces the amount that came into our system. Then we had to take water from a neighboring utility, the New Rochelle Water Company, which caused the flow reversal and discoloration of the water, and which may have accounted for some of the taste problems as well.
Thanks, Sven. Bill?
For longtime customers of Larchmont Federal, it's just not the same anymore now that People's Westchester has taken over. For example, checking accounts that used to be free now cost $8 a month if the balance falls below $3,000. And children's savings accounts that used to be free now cost $3 a month if the balance falls below $1,000. Customers are now charged $15 for every check over the 3 check per month maximum. And mortgage customers have seen their escrow account payments soar by hundreds of dollars a month. A spokesperson for Peoples says Larchmont Federal was giving away everything for free. She said you can't make money by giving away everything for free. The spokesperson also claims Peoples has more services than the old Larchmont Federal, such as credit cards, automatic teller machines, and car loans.
You probably don't realize it, but one of the reasons you are able to watch this program is because of what's called a franchise agreement. An agreement United Artists Cable of Westchester has with the governing body that oversees the running of this channel and Channel 35. That body is composed of representatives from Larchmont, Mamaroneck, and the town of Mamaroneck. This is all leading up to a very important meeting this Thursday, and Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Eileen Deutsch has the story.
Thanks, Roger. What do you think of your cable service? The Tri-Municipal TV Board of Control wants to know. The Board of Control is the intergovernmental body that oversees the franchise agreement between Larchmont, Mamaroneck, and United Artists Cable of Westchester. The existing franchise agreement expires at the end of 1993, and negotiations for the new franchise are now underway. On Thursday, January 16, an open hearing for the community will be held in the community room of the Mamaroneck Free Library at 136 Prospect Avenue. This hearing is your opportunity to let the negotiators know what you think of your existing cable service and what you would like to see in the future. For example, are you satisfied with your customer service, your cable installation, local programming? No cable issue will be off limits. Everyone present will have an opportunity to speak. If you cannot make the hearing, it will be televised here on Channel 36. It is important to know that your participation is an essential part of the negotiating process. Bill?
Thanks, Eileen. The Westchester County budget crisis has hit the County Probation Department hard. According to the County Probation Officers Association, 21 of the 70 county workers laid off on New Year's Eve came from probation. Louis Conti, the president of the County Probation Officers Association, charges the layoffs are not cost efficient.
Well, probation supervision costs about $3.08 a day. The cost of housing someone up at the Westchester County Penitentiary costs $140 a day. So when you look at probation in that light, it's extremely cost efficient. And so the question has to be asked, why would you lay off the workforce which keeps the population down at that facility and does so a strong benefit to the taxpayer?
But there are about 6,000 county employees, as I understand it. How many were laid off altogether?
70. The problem with that is that approximately half of the folks who were laid off were probation employees. We lost 21 probation officers, 16 clerical people. In addition to the layoffs, we lost 4 supervisors were demoted.
Why do you feel that your department was hit so hard?
We've been asking ourselves that question, and that's the big why question. We don't know. I asked the county executive this on Tuesday, and he really didn't have an answer at that point, other than the fact that there are some civil service regulations and that a lot of our people are newer and younger folks who join.
Condi says the caseload for probation officers now is about 200 people each, and he says they can't do a proper job of supervision that way. Roger.
Residents of the town of Mamaroneck can make it more difficult for car thieves. Police are starting a program called Combat Auto Theft. Residents get a CAT decal to put on their car. It authorizes police to stop the vehicle if they spot it on the road between 1 and 5 a.m. The theory is that car owners don't usually drive around town that early in the morning, but car thieves do. The program is already underway in a number of other Westchester communities, including New Rochelle, Scarsdale, and Yonkers. Decal registration can be done at the police station between 9 and 3 weekdays. Bill?
Area teens talk to the mayor and he listens. For more on that and an interview, here's Larchmont-Mamaroneck Community News reporter Kimberly Symington.
I'm here with Amy Shemelecki and Megan Jeffers, two Rye High School students who were part of the meeting with Mayor Paul Noto to discuss youth programs for area teens. Amy, maybe you can tell me what originally compelled you to get involved with this and how did you get involved?
Well, a couple of years ago, a bunch of us wanted something more to do at night, and I guess we were kind of bored with things. And we just wanted more, and so we started something and it really didn't work out, and now we heard of this chance to work with the mayor in making a better recreation building for students to go, and so that's really how it all came about.
Okay, and Megan, maybe you can tell me what happened in the meeting. How did it go?
Well, we just discussed basically what we can do, what we could use, like churches and schools and stuff like that to like help find things for kids.
And are there any planned activities as yet? I mean, that you've talked about, dances and things?
We talked about a dance in February for I think it was Valentine's.
Okay. And do you know where that's going to be, or?
We haven't really found a place yet.
But things look good, and the mayor was really
yeah, things are working.
Good. And so how can area teenagers find out about this? Have they figured out a way?
The kids are in charge of advertising, and that's what the council's all about.
Okay. And so how many kids, there are different area schools, how many kids are involved?
10 from Rhinebeck and 10 from Mamaroneck.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said something about picking chair people?
Yeah. Last night at the meeting, Mayor Noto asked us to pick a chairperson for each group, and the school has decided on them.
Great. Excellent. So I hope this all goes well for you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kimberly, and thanks to Amy Shemelecki and Megan Jeffers of Rhinebeck High School for being with us on Larchmont-Mamaroneck Community News.
And the winner is John Quadrini and the Interfaith Council for Affordable Housing. Both are sharing this year's Mamaroneck-Larchmont Martin Luther King Jr. Award. The award announcement made by the Tri-Municipality Human Rights Commission. John Quadrini founded the Mamaroneck Rescue Squad about 19 years ago. It's now called the Mamaroneck Emergency Medical Services. He also serves as a disaster chairman for the Mamaroneck Red Cross and has done volunteer work at both Mamaroneck and Rhinebeck High Schools. The Interfaith Council for Affordable Housing, also known as iCare, has been in the news most recently for fixing up a home on Woodland Avenue near the Larchmont train station. And it's for the homeless.
Time now for some school news, and for that, our school news reporter, Monique Citron, with a special guest interview.
Doug, how does an interested parent bring an issue in front of the school board?
We encourage involvement in Mamaroneck, and one of the ways we do it is certainly by publishing our phone numbers in each of the in the school calendar and in the phone books, because we want to get the feedback from people about the kinds of issues that really concern them, so we can bring them and discuss them in front of the whole board. In addition, at the end of each monthly board meeting, which are held throughout the different schools on a rotating basis, and another way to meet people directly in each part of the community. We offer people, anybody who wants to speak at the end of the meeting, a chance to just talk about anything they want to.
When are the meetings scheduled? If I wanted to go to a school board meeting, when are they?
Well, the monthly meeting is usually the second Tuesday of every month, but with holidays it sometimes changes. Best way to check is either to check the local newspapers or the elementary schools and their little color sheets that they send home publishes the meetings, or call the superintendent's office.
But I can bring anything up. They're wide open. Teacher, can you bring up anything in a school board meeting?
Anything's appropriate for you to bring up. There's certain things that are not appropriate for us to discuss in public. In that case, we offer another avenue, and that is we have what we call board office hours, where if anybody wants to talk to us on any subject whatsoever, whether it's teachers, whether it's members of the community, any employee, where they really want it in private, we have 2 members that will sit with them and discuss it privately. And that's an appropriate place to let people talk. And then we will take back to the board that information.
And the agenda is in the Daily Times weekly?
Generally.
Generally. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. That's really...
Last week we had a sneak preview of the town of Mamaronec's efforts to get tax scofflaws to pay their taxes, and also efforts to hold the line on town taxes. This week we continue our conversation with Mamaroneck Town Supervisor Caroline Silverstone.
I guess another project that is still in the works, and you'll have to be doing a lot of paperwork this year, is on Bonnie Briar Country Club. What is being done?
Okay. We had the draft environmental study, which was subjected to public hearings. We're now going to have a supplemental study. That one should be ready in the late spring, early summer. We will then have hearings probably in the early fall, and we will be able to come to a zoning decision hopefully by the end of '92 on that, so that we will then know what's going to happen to Bonnie Briar.
By the end of this year we should know?
I hope so, but it's entirely probable that it will then go into the courts, that the developer will sue us because they don't like what we're doing.
Just into the new year, and someone's all ready to remind us about taxes. Financial Fact reporter Randy Norham.
Thanks, Roger. There are a couple of key tax dates which I feel you should be aware of during the month of January. Wednesday, January the 15th, is the deadline for filing your final quarterly installment of your estimated individual income tax for 1991. If, however, you plan to file and pay your tax return by Friday the 31st of January, you can skip this final payment. Friday, January the 31st, is the date to file your Form 942 for household employees. You must include a check for the employer's share of Social Security taxes as well as for the employee's share of these same taxes. Also, give each employee a completed W-2 wage and tax statement by this date. For LMC-TV Community News, I'm Randy Norham. Bill?
By the way, here's sort of a consumer note to tack on to the Financial Fact. If you're scouting for the most reasonable gasoline buy in the area, you might check out the Getty service station next to Roy Rogers Fast Food on the Post Road toward New Rochelle, especially on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. That's when they have a gas sale. Last Tuesday, that Getty was selling unleaded regular for $1.19 a gallon. Now, the newspaper thieves have struck Larchmont again. At least a half-dozen shipments of newspapers have been stolen before dawn since Christmas week. Police say the thieves may be jumping on the thruway, taking the papers back to the Bronx to sell them. Merchants can get a credit from the distributors for the stolen bundles, but they miss the commissions from the sales they might have made. Some bundles of papers have been found in Mamaroneck, in the village. Michael Gaspari of SPD Copy on Mamaroneck Avenue says he found 10 bundles in a trash container behind his business. We don't know if they were part of the thefts in the town or Larchmont. Roger?
Wild birds and feeding them. Should you or should you not? For more, here's Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Jamie Stein.
A survey by the United States Department of the Interior reported that over 60 million people in the United States actively participate in feeding wild birds. Many people restrict the bird feeding to the winter months. For those of us who believe that feeding wild birds brings the beauty and wildness of nature up close, easily and with little expense, are also aware that isolated individuals may come to rely on your handouts, neglecting their usual practice of scouting out a variety of more natural food sources. resources. So for those of our viewers who are new to the pleasures of feeding wild birds, we here at LMC News would like to remind you the best policy is not to interrupt your winter feeding habits. To feed the birds or not to feed the birds? That is the question. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Jamie Stein.
Larchmont police suspect professional shoplifters may be responsible for the theft of expensive antique candlesticks from 2 stores. The couple hit both Wolf's Den and the Dualities Gallery on the Post Road a week ago Saturday. A white man, about 45 years old, 5'8", about 225 pounds, with a mustache, engaged David Wolf in conversation at the back of his store. Wolf told police a woman wearing a long coat was browsing at the front of the store. He said the couple then left without buying anything, but afterward he noticed an $800 pair of antique candlesticks was missing. Police say that while they were investigating the reported theft at Wolf's Den, they were told a similar couple had apparently walked out of Dualities with a $195 porcelain candlestick.
We don't know how disappointed a truck thief is, but Mamaroneck police say someone tried to steal a village garbage truck a couple Saturdays back. It had been parked across from the village garage on Fayette Avenue with the keys inside. When Department of Public Works employee Ray Tutolo found the truck Sunday morning, it had been driven into the lock fence of the parking lot. The fence, some surrounding electric wires, and the nose of the truck were damaged, but the driver apparently fled when the truck stalled, stuck in the fence. I suspect when the would-be thief thinks about it, he's luckier that the truck stalled.
We all have a pet story, and now here's one of Roger's.
Economic times, some say, is also affecting the way people treat their pets, and in some cases leave them. To find out more, we stopped by the Westchester Shore Humane Society and spoke with its executive director, Ralph Montalese.
There's been a lot of talk because of the recession, economic times, that a lot of people are abandoning their pets. Do you notice any change?
I think that has an effect on people surrendering their animals. Not as much as I think what it is more is the way the recession affects the people is that they have to move to a lot of times lower cost housing. People are selling their homes and moving into apartments, and that's where we run into trouble. The landlords are not always very acceptable of pets, and consequently we do see some pets. So I guess it does affect us in a way with surrendering of animals. Also, the economy affects the shelter operation as far as donations and contracts are concerned.
Mm-hmm. What about getting a pet here at the Humane Society? Is there much paperwork?
Well, not at all. We're open from 8 to 4, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and we're open 8 till noon on Saturday. People come, they look at what we have, our dogs and our cats, kittens and puppies, and we interview everybody. We ask them to fill out some paperwork and make a donation for our adoptions. We have a good adoption rate, and we have a good staff that does our interviews, and it works out very well.
In a seasonal reminder, we have yet to have our first big snowfall, but I understand that's a dangerous time for pets.
Well, it's a concern that I think everybody should be aware of, that anytime you have any kind of ground cover, and snow naturally is, dogs tend to lose their scent and consequently get disorientated and not really sure how to get back home. It's real important. Of course, the state laws that require that your dog is leashed at all times, but consequently, some dogs do get out, and you have to be particularly worried during the snow covering because they indeed lose their scent away and find it difficult to get back home. We get a lot of dogs that are lost after a snowstorm.
So keep the dogs inside after snow?
Absolutely, and all the time if possible, on a leash when they're out.
Our thanks to Ralph Montalese of the Westchester Shore Humane Society on Harrison Avenue. It's just over the Mamaroneck Village line on Harrison Avenue. Bill?
What's showing on the silver screen in our area? For some movie reviews, our Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News entertainment reporter, Pat Michelizzi.
1980 was the year that audiences tried to figure out who shot JR, but it seems that 1992 will be the year for Who Shot JFK. Many believe that Lee Harvey Oswald was the lone gunman that assassinated President John F. Kennedy nearly 30 years ago. But now, after years of unanswered questions, it seems to have surfaced again, with the release of Oliver Stone's new controversial film, JFK. JFK, which opened at the Larchmont Playhouse right before Christmas, once again raises that question, was it a conspiracy? Let's take a look.
John F. Kennedy's murder was probably one of the most terrible moments in the history of our country. Who killed the president?
Oh, Neil! Do I have to spell it out for me, Mr. Garrison?
I think you care more about John Kennedy than your own family.
Why was Kennedy killed?
There's a death warrant out for me, you know?
Who benefited?
The government's gonna jump all over your head, Jimbo.
Who has the power to cover that?
Now, we're through the looking glass here, people. People got to know. Y'all got to start thinking on a different level, like the CIA does. People got to know why he was killed. The truth is the most important value we have.
I just want to raise our children and live a normal life. I want my life back!
Nothing is going to keep me from going ahead with my investigation of John Kennedy's murder. I say let justice be done though the heavens fall.
This film has an all-star cast, including Academy Award winner Kevin Costner, who you may remember had 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture for his role in Dances with Wolves last year. Jack Lemmon, Walter Matthau, John Candy, Kevin Bacon, everybody is in this movie, but be sure to tell your babysitter that you'll be a little bit late because this blockbuster hit is nearly 3.5 hours long. Several of Oliver Stone's films have been controversial, and most of those have won awards, so I guess he's on the right track. Catch a special behind-the-scenes look at JFK on Standing Room Only all this month on Channel 36. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Pat Michelizzi.
About now, we would like to bid a special fond farewell to a gentleman who has been a tremendous help to us on this news program over the past couple years, especially on the technical side and keeping us up to date as to what's happening at the Emlyn Theater. Arthur Trowbridge read those famous words by Horace Greeley and is heading out west to California, where his fortune most likely is. Good luck, Arthur, and thanks for all your help. Bill?
And that's it for another edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. This program is produced by your neighbors, you know, all of us are volunteers, and it's a fun community activity. You can see how we put the show together by visiting the LMC-TV studios on a Thursday night around 7 o'clock. The studios are in the Palmer Avenue side of Mamaroneck High School, just up the stairs from Walter's Hot Dogs. We'd love to see you.
Thanks for watching Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Roger Norm. In case you missed any portion of this program, you can catch us again any weekday night at 7 and again at midnight, Monday through Friday, and there's a new show every Monday night.
And I'm Bill Littauer. We'll see you again next week at the same time. A suspicious fire rips through doctors' offices on the Post Road.
The Mamaroneck Village Manager becomes a campaign issue.
And trustees argue over what the village should do with increased sales tax revenues.
They're going to lower the boom on floating pollution at Harbor Island.
And they held a foreclosure auction on a Fenimore Road warehouse, but nobody came. We'll tell you why.
and welcome to another edition of Larchmont-Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Kimberly Simonton.
And I'm Bill Littauer. Our top story tonight. At 5:43 on Friday morning, January 10th, the Mamaroneck Village Fire Department was called to the professional building at 444 East Boston Post Road for a report of a fire. Upon arrival, village police and fire personnel found the rear of the building ablaze. Fortunately, the blaze was contained to the office of Dr. Rosenthal, a dermatologist in the building. Dr. Rosenthal's office was destroyed in the suspicious blaze. A computer was taken from the office. The Glenville Fire Department arson dog was called to the scene and a flammable liquid was detected. Currently, the fire is under investigation by the Village Detective Bureau. Kim?
Under the 1990 State Occupational Safety and Health Act, volunteer firefighters who battle interior blazes must receive a physical examination before joining the department. Apparently, the Larchmont trustees and mayor were not aware of this law until questioned by the Daily Times. Larchmont Fire Chief James Sweeney asked the board in December to supply $9,000 over the next 3 years to pay for medical examinations, amounting to $150 for each interior firefighter. Sweeney was told that this was a questionable expense in these economic times. The village is taking another look at the state code, so this might change.
At 6:05 Sunday evening, January 12th, our own Brian Wilson was credited with alerting the fire department to a fire at 811 Hall Street. On arrival of the police and fire department, the garage at that address was found to have smoke and fire pouring out of it. The residents who lived over the garage were home at the time. Both parties there were treated by EMS personnel for smoke inhalation. The fire department quickly extinguished that blaze.
I'm independent, said Matthew Galligan, Mamaroneck Village manager, after discovering that he had become a campaign issue. Galligan was included in a list of Democratic achievements in the party's January newsletter. The truth is, said Kate Weingarten, if it weren't for the Democrats, we wouldn't have professional management in the village. We're pleased with his work. Weingarten and June Ottinger, 2 of 3 Democrats on the 5-member board, are up for re-election in March. Mayor Paul Noto criticized the newsletter, saying they've tried to politicize the manager's office from day one, and it's wrong. In a related story, Mamaroneck trustee June Ottinger has announced that she will not seek re-election in March. She and her husband, former Representative Richard Ottinger, have some traveling to do. Mr. Ottinger's work with Pace University's Center for Environmental Legal Studies is providing the opportunity for international travel. Mrs. Ottinger said that is something neither of them should miss. Bill?
How should the village of Mamaroneck use the increased sales tax revenues it expects? The sales tax went up in many Westchester communities last October from 5 3/4 to 6 3/4%. The county estimates that under a revenue sharing plan, Mamaroneck Village should get about $1.25 million in the first year of the new tax. The village budget committee wants to earmark revenue received before June 1st to rebuild the village surplus. Then they want the sales tax revenue used to reduce property taxes. Democrats say that's appealing politically, but they think the money should all go to rebuilding reserves. Trustee Kate Weingarten says the reserve provides a fiscal cushion and helps lower the cost of borrowing money for major projects. Village Treasurer Leonard Verastro says the surplus was depleted over recent years by village boards that used money to keep property tax increases down.
There will be a big improvement at Johnson Beach next summer. LMC reporter Jamie Stein has the details.
Remember all the summers when Harbor Island Beach was closed to swimmers more often than it was open because of pollution? How could we forget? Well, there's good news tonight, and that big sunshine ray of hope for beach lovers comes in the form of a 500-foot device called the Gungor Boom, or Boom for short. Raymond Bauer of Echo Boom Incorporated made a presentation this past week to the village board about the huge boom and what it can do. Basically, the boom surrounds the entire swimming area and keeps out seaweed, marine creatures, bacteria, and other pollutants that have caused the beach to close. In fact, ever since the boom's been installed at Seacliff Beach in Hempstead Harbor, that beach hasn't had to close one day. The unanimous response from the village board members, the boom is too good to be true, so it's just possible that with funds approved for the purchase of this amazing device, this summer you'll want to go swimming at Harbor Island Beach, just like in the good old days. For Larchmont-Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Jamie Stein.
It appears the Mamaroneck Town Board will formally eliminate the post of police commissioner. The post has been vacant since Arthur Dallas resigned last June to go into private industry. Republicans have criticized the post as unnecessary in such a small community, and the Democratic board decided to replace the post with a panel of council members. Police Chief Paul Munch would still be the town's top law enforcement official, and the town could then put another lieutenant on the force to maintain the same number of supervisory personnel.
The City and Suburban Federal Savings Bank was forced to foreclose on a 5,700 square foot warehouse on Fenimore Road owned by Ernest Samoro of E.G. Samoro Incorporated. The property went on the auction block at the Westchester County Courthouse in White Plains, but not one bidder could be found. Samoro was unable to rent the building for 18 months and ran into financial trouble. One municipal official charges that Samoro failed to maintain the property and has no one to blame but himself. Local commercial property owner Martin Spatz said the problem goes beyond poor upkeep. Spatz said that high rents and high taxes in an aging industrial area has made it difficult for Mamaroneck landlords to compete with other parts of the county. Bill?
A 35-year-old Mamaroneck man who had worked for 7 years to bring his family here from Colombia has been shot to death in Jersey City. Police say Jose Orlando Garcia of 412 Taylor Lane was making a delivery for the Hernandez Beef Company in Jersey City when he was attacked by two men on the afternoon of January 9th. Garcia came to the United States in 1984, but had only earned enough money to send for his wife and 2 daughters last May. 2 suspects were arrested and are being held without bail in the Hudson County Jail.
We'll turn to school news now with LMC-TV community news reporter Monique Citron.
If you're the parent of a 6th grade student starting the hummocks in the fall, you won't want to miss one of the tours being conducted right now of the hummocks. The counselors Ann Cantor and Cal Chang will take you around and answer your questions, everything about dances to curriculum. For more vivid discussion on curriculum, Principal Rick North will be visiting the different elementary schools in the next few weeks. If you haven't received notification, call the hummocks. Actionville parents may have not received notification, so you have to look into it. More intensive tours will be taking place in May.
Larchmont police say the total cost of furs reported missing at Furs by Jean-Pierre has passed $500,000. 64 furs are now reported stolen by customers who had stored them at the store on Palmer Avenue and went to try to collect them as the weather turned colder in November and December. The owner of the store, Anastasios Katsikas of Fort Lee, New Jersey, has been arrested and charged with a major fur operation in New York. His son, George, had reopened the store in Larchmont and assured customers their coats were safe. However, in September, he reported some furs were missing. And by the end of September, he had closed the store, and by the end of October, the business was evicted for non-payment of rent. By November, George Katsikas was nowhere to be found.
And that's a report for tonight. I'm Kimberly Simonton. If you'd like to join us and work on this community news program, we'd love to meet you. Just drop by the LMC-TV studios Thursday evening about 7:30. We're in the Palmer Avenue building of the high school, just up the stairs from Walter's Hot Dogs.
And we'd like to wish Kimberly Simonton well. Our loss is Diane and Sam's gain. She's going to Primetime Live on ABC Television Network. But we'll see you here again next week at the same time. I'm Bill Littauer.
Good night.
The town of Mamaroneck board has voted to abolish the post of police commissioner.
Cuomo budget cuts would hit town and village revenue aid hard.
New urgency to raise a reward to find the Larchmont rapist.
A new hat in the ring for Village of Mamaroneck trustee.
And Republicans may be trying to get Susie Oppenheimer through redistricting.
Hello and welcome to Larchmont Community News. I'm Roger Norham.
And I'm Bill Littauer. Our top story, the Mamaroneck Town Board has abolished the post of police commissioner, but it seemed to take note of some Republican criticism. We talked about the action with council member Kathleen Tracy O'Flynn. Kathleen, what happened on the police commissioner post? The board has now acted.
Yes, at the last town board meeting last night, we approved an amendment to a 1984 law which allowed for the creation of the post of a commissioner. And the amendment that we approved last night states that by resolution, the town board can create a board of police commissioners, which will operate as overseers, professional overseers over the police department. We will not be involved in the day-to-day functioning of the police department. We've got a strong chief. Through the amendment, we've given him even more powers than he had before.
The Republicans had criticized some of the action planned, saying that you shouldn't just put yourself in a position to reimpose a commissioner in the future without a hearing. What did you do there?
Well, as the amendment was written, it said that we could, by resolution, simply make this change. And so, as a result of the comments that were made, we thought it was a good idea. So what we're going to do is amend that law again at the next meeting, and in that amendment, we will state that a hearing would be required before a resolution. So if we wanted to make a switch, we would have a hearing. We believe in open government, and if people feel better with the idea that we will have a hearing, and we probably would have had one anyway, even if it wasn't required, then we're all for it.
Okay. On the Bonnie Breyer matter, now you've taken another step.
Yes. With regard to rezoning of our golf courses, we approved last night a supplemental environmental impact statement scope, which is a detailed outline. And in it, we ask our consultant to look at a number of other concerns that we had and that residents had. They had expressed those concerns during the hearings we held during the summer. And we hope to have that completed in June. I might add, too, all this costs money, and in an attempt to keep the price low, we've called upon a lot of our local residents who are experts in their fields and asked them if they will assist us in completing this document. So we're really fortunate to have such capable residents.
The board expects to have a public hearing on the study this June. Roger?
A Mamaroneck woman has been charged with stabbing her former lover in the back with a 12-inch carving knife. Police say 30-year-old Dorothy Friend stabbed the man after seeing him hugging another woman on the street. The victim was taken to New Rochelle Hospital. Bill?
State police say they still haven't been able to find the hit-and-run driver who struck and killed a 75-year-old Mamaroneck woman on the Thruway December 23rd. Police say Catherine Pemberton wandered away from her home and onto the highway about 1:40 in the morning. She was struck and killed by at least one car.
A note for area commuters to listen for. A fare hike is down the track. Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Sven Ome has details.
Officials at Metro North are considering another fare hike for later this year. The last time the fare went up was in January of 1990. The increase at that time was 15%. The percentage for the proposed hike for this year has not yet been determined. It will largely depend on the total amount of subsidies Metro North can expect to receive and on the development of ridership on the lines. One argument of the railroad officials is that a hike in 1992 will ease a hike that is definitely going to come in 1993. We'll keep you updated on the development as it happens on this issue that will affect most of us.
Thanks, Sven. Bill?
All that construction you see around the Larchmont Acres East apartment complex on Rich Bell Road should soon have an effect. The construction is part of a $20,000 project to alleviate flooding around the 4 6-story buildings. Old drainage pipes were clogged or cracked or missing entirely. New ones are being installed, and when it's all done, water from storms should flow into the Sound rather than collect around sidewalks and parking lots.
If Governor Cuomo's proposed state budget is approved, it won't be good for the town of Mamaroneck or the two villages. Revenue sharing for the town of Mamaroneck would drop from nearly $117,700 to less than $99,600. The village of Larchmont would lose some $9,000. The village of Mamaroneck would lose some $19,000. Bill?
A newly formed group to take a bite out of crime in Larchmont has jumped into action, called Larchmont Crime Stop. It's a response to the 2 rapes and 1 attempted sexual assault in the village last year. Village trustee Marion White represents the group, and we talked to her about it. Marion, I understand the group is trying to raise funds. Why?
Well, as you know, during 1991, there were 2 rapes in the village of Larchmont, which is a very shocking occurrence in a small village, 1 mile square. And police have determined that they were committed by the same individual. So in September, the village board got together with a group of citizens and decided to create a reward fund where the village would match private monies raised up to $5,000.
So now you're trying to raise the private portion of that?
Absolutely. We, a group of citizens formed the Larchmont Crime Stop Committee, and after reviewing the best way to approach this, we decided to work with a group called Victim Assistance Services, and we are now asking for tax-deductible contributions. And unfortunately, there's been even more urgency to this entire affair because just January 14th, another woman, a commuter in Pelham, was attacked as she walked home from the train station, and police believe that there were many similarities and it very well could be the work of the same individual.
What is the Victims Assistance Service?
Well, its advantage to us is that it's a county-wide organization. They deal in these kinds of unpleasant situations on a regular basis. They have a lot of experience, and they tell us how to go about doing things, which, you know, amateurs like us would never know the most effective ways.
Good. So with hopefully $10,000 at least, you think this might encourage somebody to come up with information they haven't come up with yet?
Yes, the real way to locate someone like this, according to Chief Keresy, is to bribe his friends. Presumably, we hope he will have boasted about it or something, and that people close to him will be aware. There's no point to turn someone in for nothing, but if you offer enough of a reward, we hope that that will cause someone to give information.
Contributions to the fund can be sent to Larchmont Crime Stop, VAS, care of Elliott Howard, People's Westchester Savings, 1940 Palmer Avenue, Larchmont, 10538.
From behind the scenes of Mamaroneck's Republican Party, 45-year-old Joseph Lanza is now in the spotlight. Lanza is tossing his hat into the race for Mamaroneck Village Trustee on March 17. There are 3 trustee seats up for grabs this election, all of them currently being held by Democrats. 10-year veteran trustee Beth Hofstetter and first-term trustee June Nottinger have decided not to seek re-election. The other Democrat, Kate Weingarten, has yet to announce her intention. Joseph Lanza served as chairman of the Village Republican Committee for the past 8 years. He's president of his own electrical contracting firm and lives in Mamaroneck with his wife and 2 children. On next week's Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, we hope to have Joseph Lanza in for an interview. Bill?
There's going to be a lot of political feuding before the state decides on new legislative districts. A plan has been developed by legislative leaders that would reapportion districts according to changes recorded in the 1990 census. But even the co-chairmen of the legislative task force that developed the plan don't expect it to be accepted without changes. One state senator who might be affected is Susie Oppenheimer, a Democrat from Mamaroneck. She would lose significant Democratic votes in South Mount Vernon, and they would be replaced with largely Republican votes in Mount Pleasant. It's all about political power, and Republicans want to retain their majority in the state Senate, while Democrats want to expand their control of the Assembly. A public hearing will be held on it all next month.
105 years is a ripe old age for bridges, and 2 of them near the Mamaroneck train station are in the midst of a facelift. The bridge on Hillside Avenue that was closed for a couple months is reopened now after Metro North crews repaired some hanger bolts. Now the repair work is beginning on the North Berry Avenue Bridge. It's scheduled to be closed until mid-March. The bottom line is the work was and is necessary to reduce the possibility of a bridge collapse. Bill?
Now with a look at this week's school news, here's LMC reporter Monique Citron.
More than 30 contractors have been kept busy on Mamaroneck School building project, but now the work is 90% finished. The 7-phase project includes a nearly $1 million renovation of the Pace Theater at the high school. It should be completed by spring. Sarah Tate, Superintendent of Operations, reported this news about the $7.3 million capital improvement program last week. Janet Walker, school board trustee, presented the first draft of the new gift-giving policy at the same meeting. The policy would attempt to establish equity among gift-giving, particularly among the 4 elementary schools, and will benefit as broad a group of students as possible.
Larchmont taxpayers, listen up. A night of your very own to complain. Larchmont-Mamaroneck Community News reporter Sven Ome has more.
Those of you who live in Larchmont and who think that your property taxes are too high, you should mark February 18th on your calendar. It's tax grievance night, and it is a chance to talk to the newly formed Board of Assessment Review in the village of Larchmont. 3 experts have been named to the board for a 3-year period. Jane Moss, a former Larchmont resident, has been in real estate for more than 15 years. Currently, she's an appraiser at Lane Appraisals in Larchmont. Joyce Phelps, a 22-year resident of Larchmont, has been a real estate broker for 15 years with Burbank Whittemore. Ellen Rubunski, a real estate and tax attorney with offices in Larchmont and Manhattan, is the 3rd member of the board. Again, the date, February 18th, is tax grievance night.
Thanks, Sven. Bill?
Another print shop in Mamaroneck? Yes, indeed, and Larchmont-Mamaroneck Community News reporter Greg Fetterbush has an interview.
My guest is Robert McGuire from the Wild Muse on Mamaroneck Avenue. What makes your print shop different from all the other print shops in the area?
Well, we're a printing shop and a bookstore. We do offset printing, basic business printing, and we also sell out-of-print and rare books.
That's where where did the name The Wild Muse come from?
That was originally the book business. I had come up with that name about 6 years ago when I was doing mail order, and you know, it probably suits the book business more than the printing, but I liked it and I stuck with it.
What types of books do you specialize in?
Out of print, mostly literary, modern literature. We're more oriented towards the arts than, say, science and technical books.
How do you find businesses in Mamaroneck here, now that you're on Mamaroneck Avenue?
Well, it was good when we moved here, but now it's, you know, I think everyone feels the same thing. It's slow everywhere.
Where exactly are you located?
We're at Mamaroneck Avenue, 320 Mamaroneck Avenue.
Great, thanks.
Sure.
State budget cuts are endangering the Mamaroneck minibus for the disabled. The State Transportation Department says the local agency must increase its passenger trips from 2,500 a year to 4,000 or face loss of state funding. The idea apparently is that the reduced level of state funds should be applied only to those agencies that show their service fills the greatest need. A spokesman for the Mamaroneck agency, the Southeast Consortium for Special Services, says he can't seem to find anyone else who needs their transportation. Roger.
Earlier this month, Mamaroneck's John Quadrini shared the Martin Luther King Jr. Award with iCare, the Interfaith Council for Affordable Residents. John Quadrini, you're quite a fixture in Mamaroneck, and congratulations on receiving the Martin Luther King Jr. Human Rights Award for the area and sharing it with iCare. But could you tell us just a little bit about how you got things started? I understand you were the man instrumental in starting the emergency medical care services, the ambulances that we see in our area.
Right. Well, back in 1962, the old village ambulance was really a wreck of the Hesperus, and it come up the post road one day with a patient, and it stopped, and I happened to be operating the Amico gas station at the time, and the policeman called across to me and asked me if I'd help him get started, which I did. And we got the thing started, and he went to Portchester Hospital, and on the way back, he thanked me. But in the meantime, the Plaid Step representative was in the station getting gas. He dealt with me, and he said to me, you know, you could buy a brand new ambulance for this village with plaid stamps. So I looked at him and I said, plaid stamps, and I didn't think too much of it at the time, but all night long that night I thought about it, and I used to see him every day practically, and we got started on it, and we started collecting plaid stamps. We collected newspapers, we sold candy, and Carol Reed, the weather girl, remember back in the, those days, she and her husband put a talent show on for us, and they made a record of it.
Anyway, and all this just led up to where Mamaroneck Village now has its own emergency medical services.
Right, right. That's when we bought the first ambulance. Then we donated it to the village. Then it took about 12 years to get the village to give me the okay to start the rescue squad, which we did. And that's how it all got started.
Roughly, I don't know if you keep figures on such things, but roughly how many lives have been saved by that particular unit?
Oh, on the top of my head, it's pretty hard, but there's many, because we have paramedics now, and without them, you know, the first 5 minutes when someone has a real severe heart attack, you know, they need care, and they right away, they start IV, and they're talking to the doctor at the hospital, and the doctor tells them what to do. And there's been many cases where people are walking around today and counted the rescue squad.
Well, I think your well-deserved award was presented at the Emlyn Theater a couple weeks back, and we have some video now, and I understand Lee Bloom, the president of the Human Rights Commission, presented the award to you.
Yes, sir.
Why don't we take a look at that video?
Okay.
He has been an officer and leader in almost every volunteer organization and community organization in America. And so it's a very special pleasure tonight to recognize this very human person who has cared about humanity in the deepest kind of way at great personal sacrifice for so many years. John tells me that he has been battling pneumonia. He wasn't sure he could make it tonight, but John, we're just so delighted you are here. So please come up.
All right, John. Well, that must have been quite an evening for you.
It was very exciting, and I was very happy about the whole thing.
Again, congratulations, and thanks for being with us on Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
We're privileged to have John Quadrini visit with us on Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News.
Most of you live in the town of Mamaroneck, and soon you'll have a chance to say whether the town should have a new fire truck. Sven Olmy with details.
Mamaroneck town voters will soon decide whether to buy a new fire truck. Fire Chief Louis Santoro will soon deliver specifications for a new pumper to the town board and hopes that the board will then schedule a referendum, perhaps as early as March. The truck will probably cost around $150,000 to $185,000 and is to replace a pumper bought in 1956, which recently had to be taken out of service because it was not safe to operate anymore.
Sven?
Just about any day now, a homeless family will be given some shelter in a newly refurbished home in Larchmont, all made possible by iCare, the Interfaith Council for Affordable Residence. Eventually, 2 families will be given free shelter for up to a year at the house on number 2 Woodland Avenue, not far from the train station in Larchmont. The Westchester County Department of Social Services is screening families. The qualifications are described as between needing to be in a motel and being ready for permanent housing. Bill?
This area's representative in Congress held some town meetings the past couple of weeks, and Representative Nita Lowy has been getting an earful about high taxes, the federal deficit, the nation's health care system, and housing. The latest meetings were held at the Harrison Public Library in the Mamaroneck Town Hall. If you want your chance to let your Congresswoman hear your views, there are 2 more community meetings planned by Mrs. Lowy. Both are set for early next month. February 2nd at 5 p.m. in Rye City Hall, and at 7:30 p.m. February 13th in the Townhouse in Pelham.
Now here's a credit-worthy report from Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News' Randy Norum and this week's Financial Fact.
You ever seen your credit report? Would you like to? You should. A study by Consumers Union shows that at least 2 out of 5 people have incorrect information on their consumer credit reports. A mere misplaced letter or a number can mark you as a deadbeat. This deadbeat status can last as long as 7 years. In the case of bankruptcy entries, it can last as long as 10 years. If you have ever been denied credit, you are entitled to a free copy of your credit report within 30 days of credit denial. You can get reports from the following 3 agencies: Equifax Information Service Center, Wildwood Plaza, 7200 Windy Hill Road, Suite 500 in Marietta, Georgia, 30067. TRW Consumer Assistance Center, Post Office Box 749029, Dallas, Texas 75374. TransUnion Consumer Relations Center, 25249 Country Club Boulevard, North Olmsted, Ohio, 44070. Spend a little time and effort to write for these reports. Remember, it's your name and reputation that is at stake. For LMC Community News, I'm Randy Norum.
And that's it for another edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. We have a reminder for you in case you missed any portion of this program. You can catch it again any weekday night at 7 and 12 midnight, and also Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. And there's a new program every Monday.
Also, if you think you might like to get involved in a fun community activity, helping put this show on just might suit you. We're all volunteers, and we record this program every Thursday night in the LMC-TV studios in the Palmer Avenue unit of Mamaroneck High School. It's right up the stairs across from Walter's Hot Dogs.
We start things around 7, and you can just stop by, take a look, and say hello. We'd love to see you. Thanks for watching Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Roger Norum.
And I'm Bill Littauer. We'll see you again next week at the same time on LMC-TV, Channel 36.
What is happiness? You can find out at Chatsworth Avenue's school production of You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. The show is next week, Tuesday and Friday evenings at 7:30. Tickets are available in the school office. And now the cast will sing.
Learning to whistle, tying your shoe for the very first time.
A surprise announcement jolts the political scene in Larchmont.
And the village elections are only a month and a half away. We'll tell you who's running in both Larchmont and Mamaroneck.
The new Lexus dealership is getting ready to stage a grand opening.
And the tenants are moving into the new senior and affordable housing in Mamaroneck Village.
Reliving history in the comics, Archie and the Historical Society.
Hello and welcome to Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Roger Norham.
And I'm Bill the Tower. Our top story, Larchmont Mayor Miriam Kernan took village Republicans by surprise last week in announcing she would not seek a fifth term. Mrs. Kernan made the announcement at a Democratic Party caucus. The Democrats then nominated Cheryl Louie to run for mayor. Louie is a trustee now and serves as deputy mayor as well as fire commissioner. We talked to Mrs. Kernan about her decision.
Why quit now? You seem to be doing so well.
It's time. There's a time to do everything, I think. And I never really admired people who stayed in office and stayed in office and stayed in office. I think, I mean, clearly I believe without undue modesty, I could have stayed in office. And there are things I would like to do. I haven't brought Larchmont to a state of ultimate perfection so that there's no work left. There's certainly always work to do. And I loved it. But I have always thought that people in public office should know when to step off the stage. I just don't think you own the office and possess it until, you know, death overcomes you or senility, whichever comes first. So it's time.
Well, now that you are planning not to run again, what do you think is undone? What do you think that the next mayor is going to face as a major problem?
Well, you know, there is going to be a greater problem on financial stability. We are in such wonderful condition, probably the best financial condition of any community in the Sound Shore, maybe in Westchester County. We have a wonderful surplus. We have very little long-term debt. In flat numbers, we have very little. In proportion to our budget, we have very little. We have a generally healthy community. The most productive staff couldn't be better.
There's one problem. Even real estate people say it's getting difficult to sell houses in Larchmont because the taxes are so high.
Yes.
You may be solvent, but the taxpayers are having a problem.
Well, they are, and I always try to encourage them when they speak to me to examine their whole tax picture. You know, you can move from Larchmont to the unincorporated area of the town or to the village of Mamaroneck, and you're going to carry with you the county tax and the school tax. The village tax accounts for about 25% of the total tax bill. So if you're going to move out of Larchmont into one of the other parts of the town of Mamaroneck, you better look at that portion of the bill because you're not going to affect any great savings. No. The biggest, you know, the town collects for the county. It's enormous.
Well, I thank you very much for your 4 terms.
Well, it's my pleasure, and I mean that in every sense of the word. I enjoyed it all. It was great.
The Republicans had not planned to oppose the popular mayor, but when news of her decision not to run reached them, they nominated former village trustee Thomas Constabile to run against Louie. The election is March 17th. The Democrats will also run William McSherry and Judy O'Gorman for trustee. The Republicans nominated Carolyn Gallagher to run for trustee. Roger?
The Mamaroneck Village political stage is now set for the campaign, which ends with the March 17th election. Leading off the GOP slate of candidates is Joe Lanza, former chairman of the Village Republican Committee, and also on the zoning board. Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News spoke with him. Joe Lanza, you've been on the political scene, the Republican political scene, behind the scenes for about 8 years or so. Why did you decide to come in front?
Well, I guess, Roger, there's got to be a little bit of lunacy involved in it. But I really think that all my life I've been working and I've been involved in this community. My family has also been involved in this community. And I've seen some of the first-hand problems that we've confronted. I'm very concerned about the future of my children in this village. I'm also concerned about the tax base and the burden that it bears upon my mother and father and my family and friends. And like anybody else, I think, who runs for office, I feel that I can do better than the people that were there. And that's why I feel like I should.
Do you have any ideas as how the village might be able to cut taxes?
Well, we're going to have a tough problem in the future, and I don't think anybody is enough of a wizard to solve that problem. But I think what we're going to probably have to do is to get some economic development going in the village of Mamaroneck. We're going to have to start building affordable housing, and I think affordable housing will solve a twofold problem. One, hopefully it will give residents and volunteers who work here in the village the opportunity to own a home, and also create a tax base for the residents who already have homes and are established here. Unfortunately, we're not like Harrison and New Rochelle, who have commercial districts and industrial districts that create substantial tax bases to offset homeowners' taxes. So we're in a unique situation here.
Also running for village trustee on the Republican ticket is Mamaroneck's Todd Noble, a former trustee himself, and also Virginia Newmeister. Newmeister is a legal assistant and president of the Orienta Gardens Cooperative, where she lives. The Republican candidate for village justice is incumbent Roger Serlin, who is seeking a 4th term. By the way, village trustees in Mamaroneck are given a $5,000 a year stipend. The justice, $17,500 for the part-time position. Bill?
Mamaroneck Village Democrats have also put their slate together. Although Beth Hofstetter and June Ottinger will not be running again, Kate Weingarten will seek re-election as a trustee. The Democrats also nominated their first Hispanic candidate, a native of Mexico, Martha Lopez, an administrator with the Washingtonville Housing Alliance. Mrs. Lopez says her major concerns are housing, recreation, and human rights. According to the 1990 census, more than 10% of the village population is Hispanic. The third Democratic trustee candidate is Jay Goodwin, an executive of the Bolivar Watch Company and an unsuccessful candidate in 1989. And the Democrats nominated Wendy Landis, a former county assistant district attorney, to run for the village judgeship. Well, the recession seems to be taking its toll in many volunteer positions in the tri-municipalities. For more on that subject, here's Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Sven Ohm.
Local government officials in our area are facing a serious problem. Over the years, it has become increasingly difficult to fill the positions on the various boards in the 3 municipalities. Recently, the chairman of the Mamaroneck Village Traffic Commission resigned. Tom Ross told the Daily Times that he felt that he should reduce some of his activities. He has been replaced by Myron Tannenbaum. In addition to Ross, Milton Pascalis also left the board. Other vacancies exist on the Human Rights Commission and on the Recreation and Parks Commission. If you're interested in serving on the volunteer boards, contact the village manager, Matt Galligan. Roger?
The Mamaroneck Towers is open for business. The senior housing complex across from the Mamaroneck train station is open for tenants after almost 10 years in the planning and ultimate building. Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News spoke with the rental agent. This is a very beautiful building. What are some of the amenities that are being offered here?
Well, the apartments are all air conditioned. Okay, the tenants pay for the utilities, but they do receive air conditioners maintained by the landlord. There's a laundry room with washers and dryers, and there's a huge community room and kitchen for tenant activities.
And when it's filled up, how many people will actually be living here?
Well, there are 74 apartments, and there are many couples, I'd say, in the area of about 100 people.
Okay, and they're not all necessarily from Mamaroneck?
No, there's a preference of at least 35% of Mamaroneck residents, and the rest will be eligible outsiders and Mamaroneck residents. We are about 2/3 not occupied but rented.
I see, but at the same time, anybody that might be watching it, it's a little late to apply to get a residence here.
We have applications for the remaining apartments as per the HUD regulations. They've all been lotteried and entered into a logbook and interviewed and accepted in order of their number and eligibility.
So will there be presumably a waiting list that people could apply through their local municipality?
Of the applicants who don't receive apartments will be on a waiting list. And beyond that, we will accept names for indication of interest only, which will take many, many years to reach them. We have a very long waiting list.
By the way, in case you did not catch it, all the units are spoken for. More than 300 applicants filled out the paperwork. Only 75 have been accepted, about a third of them from the Larchmont-Mamaroneck area. In a future program, we'll be speaking with some of the new tenants to see how they like their new digs at the Mamaroneck Towers. Bill?
More parking spots are in the works for the village of Larchmont, but negotiations to get them going are dragging. For more on that story, here's LMC-TV reporter Lynn Goodman.
Thanks, Bill. Village of Larchmont officials had hoped to break ground last August 1st on a new parking lot along the railroad right-of-way south of the Chatsworth Avenue Bridge. But in the first week of February, they still can't close a deal with the MTA. There are 42 spaces in a village lot along North Avenue now. If a deal can be worked out, the railroad property could be turned into 33 more spaces, 17 reserved for the commuters and the remainder for local merchants and others. Village Attorney James Stout says engineering and insurance issues are stalling the project, and he hopes to get the two sides together soon for technical talks to break the impasse. The village would pay the cost of construction, about $165,000, and then split parking meter revenues with the MTA for the right to develop the property. Roger?
Our regular school news reporter Monique Citron is taking a break this week and sitting in with the Larchmont-Mamaroneck Community School News Report. Here is Joe Chamberlain.
At the latest meeting of the Rhinebeck School Board, a decision not to rename the Rhinebeck Middle High School Library was made. Carol Burdish presented a petition of students and faculty in order that Maureen Sullivan, librarian and English teacher for 23 years, be honored for her service. This request was denied in December, too, and School Board President Beatrice Sarasoli is quoted as saying the most recent decision resolves the matter. The Rhinebeck Teachers Association, who originally made the proposal to rename the library, has changed the name of its scholarship program to the Maureen Sullivan Memorial Fund.
Thanks, Joe.
A Mamaroneck resident who fulfilled his dream. We get that story from LMC-TV news reporter Jamie Stein.
Thanks, Bill. There aren't many people in this world who make a living out of a boyhood dream, but count one Mamaroneck resident, Charlie Guadagnolo, who's done just that. As a young boy, he always dreamed of sailing and working on his own boat on Long Island Sound. And at 44, he has fulfilled his dream. His boat is hardly what Guadagnolo or anybody else would call a dream boat. It's actually a converted 1966 U.S. Navy landing craft with a maximum speed of 8 knots. But the 36-foot boat serves him well, and that goes for residents and businesses right on Long Island Sound. 3 years have passed since he started his company called Sound Shore Transport, and he numbers marine contractors, construction contractors, pollution control companies, divers, engineers, surveyors, power, and utility companies as his clients. He works the coastline from Greenwich to Rye, providing local marine cargo transport, which is a seagoer's way of saying he picks up and delivers right to his client's back doorstep, right on the water. For Larchmont-Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Jamie Stein. Roger?
The town of Mamaroneck is really going upscale on the Boston Post Road. A couple of weeks back, a Lexus dealership opened up for business, and Larchmont-Mamaroneck Community News spoke with the people running it.
The neighbors have been absolutely wonderful. They are very happy that Ray Katina has put the dealership here. He's spent a ton of money to make the place look beautiful, and we're going to keep it that way.
To say the Lexus is, well, it's not your average car, do you find recessionary times affecting people coming in and looking to see about buying one?
Yes, absolutely. It affects everyone. We also feel that when the recession is over, which hopefully it'll be soon, that business will even be better.
Right. I noticed the landscaping out front here as we were walking around that it's as nice inside as it is, or I should say it's as nice outside as it is inside.
And we plan on keeping it that way. The previous folks who were here kind of had a little bit of a mess, and when we went in front of the Architectural Review Board for the town, we had the neighbors who came in, and Ray Catena made them a promise, and he has kept his promise. He's planted many, many bushes and trees, and he's done a lot, and it really looks it now.
What are some of the, if you will, innovations that you've done here that people might not find in their regular auto dealership?
We have free pickup and delivery for our service customers' convenience. We will provide limousine service to and from shopping, their offices, train station, also, if need be, to help them on their way from our service department. We feel Westchester County is one of the wealthiest counties in the nation, and no better place for a quality car like Lexus in a quality county like Westchester.
Double check your bank account if you want to buy one of those Lexus beauties. They run in the neighborhood of $30,000 to $50,000 as a sticker price. But the people who own them say they're worth it. And if Lexus isn't your style, just up the road a tad is a sign that says Lamborghini coming soon. Thanks to Greg Fetterbush for the video on affordable housing story, as well as the video we just saw.
The subject of water is still pouring onto the headlines. This time it's also about our pocketbook. Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Lynn Goodman has details.
Thanks, Bill. It looks as though we're going to be paying more for our water service. The Westchester Joint Waterworks is planning to spend some $6 million this year on two major projects, and officials in Mamaroneck and Harrison are being asked to raise rates to pay for them. The two projects are improvements to the Rye Lake Pump Station in Purchase and a 36-inch pipeline and million-gallon tank to ensure water purity. Roger?
Blazing away with shotguns on winter weekends, trap shooters have become the targets of local environmentalists. Sven Ome has that story.
Thanks, Roger. Gun clubs on the coast of Long Island Sound are all facing the same problem. Local residents and environmental groups charge that the gun clubs dump lead during trap shooting practice in Long Island Sound. As a consequence, some clubs have switched to steel ammunition, but not so Orienta Beach Club. In a meeting with the Mamaroneck Village Coastal Zone Commission, the club presented the results of the analysis of soil samples taken from the sound near the club. The samples contained no lead. Club officials also informed the village of a U.S. Environmental Conservation Agency ruling that lead used as ammunition does not constitute a disposal of hazardous waste. The New York State Department of Environmental Conservation has a similar view. Because of all this, the trap shooters at Orienta have decided not to switch to steel. Bill?
The fatal hit-and-run accident that took the life of a 15-year-old girl last October has raised questions about safety conditions on Route 1 and Keeler Avenue. Two teenage boys were injured in another hit-and-run accident at that intersection last month. In fact, there have been 30 accidents there since 1987. The State Department of Transportation keeps track of accidents on state highways, and officials say the Post Road is no better or worse than other major arteries in Westchester County. But there are some dangerous stretches, and the worst one in the Larchmont-Mamaroneck area seems to be the intersection of the Post Road and Richbell Road near the high school. There have been 86 accidents at that location since 1987. A busy intersection, both for automobiles and pedestrians, with the high school, the apartments, the shopping centers, and McDonald's. The Daily Times found no easy solution to the problem. Police blame the congestion compounded by impatient drivers and unwary pedestrians.
A new position created in Larchmont. For more on that story, here's Larchmont-Mamaroneck Community News reporter Jamie Stein.
Thanks, Roger. There is a rule of thumb in local community government, and that is whenever you must create a new position, give it to the person with the most related experience. Well, that's exactly what just happened in Larchmont. A new position has been created in the Larchmont Department of Public Works, Supervisor of Work Crews, and the man named for the job is John Denham. Mr. Denham is 62 years old, and he's been with the Larchmont Public Works for 22 years. He's also been president of Local 1735 of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees Union during 5 of those years. Dunham, before this appointment, worked as motor equipment operator, but in this new supervisory position, Dunham will get an increase in pay of $4,000. Bill?
Has been declared insolvent and taken over by federal regulators. The latest casualty IC says losses from its credit card operations had exhausted the bank's capital. The American National Bank was best known for its late-night television ads offering credit cards. In August, Larchmont Federal Savings and Loan was declared insolvent, and its assets and deposits taken over by People's Westchester.
Guess what? In less than 2.5 months, the tax man cometh. And for some pointers, here's Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News financial fact reporter, Randy Norham.
Thanks, Roger. If you haven't gotten them already, it's about time that you should have received your W-2 forms, your 1099s, and anything else that reflects either earned or unearned income for 1991. Now you can get to the nitty-gritty. Start to fill in the blanks on your 1040. This year should not be much different from 1990. 1991 saw fewer changes in the tax law than any other year in recent history. Hallelujah! However, there are some new provisions. The standard exemption increases from $2,050 to $2,150, an increase of $100. The top tax rate has decreased from 33% to 31%. There is no consumer interest that can be deducted from your 1991 tax return. And any child who was at least 1 year old and a dependent on December 31st, 1991 must have a Social Security number. Also, Americans who served in the Persian Gulf have extra time to file their returns this year. Good luck and file early, especially if you're looking for a refund from the IRS. Otherwise, you're giving Uncle Sam an interest-free loan. The sooner you file, the sooner the check will be in the mail. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Randy Norham. Bill?
More room for the Larchmont Historical Society. The group has moved down the hall from its third-floor room in the Mamaroneck Town Center. The Larchmont Historical Society has quite a collection of items and needed the space. More than 200 books and 1,000 slides, as well as collections of women's hats and period costumes from old Larchmont. Its archive is open Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays from 1 till 3, or appointments can also be arranged.
As many of you know, Archie Comics makes its home in Mamaroneck. Well, something special is about to happen on February 12th with Archie Comics, and it involves the Mamaroneck Historical Society. To explain just what that is, here is Don March, the president of the Mamaroneck Historical Society, with some special guests.
Good evening. My name is Donald March. I'm president of the Mamaroneck Historical Society. I'd like to invite the members of the community to our special program on February the 12th, 1992 at Mamaroneck's Free Library. In the community room at 8 p.m., we'll be doing a special program on 50 years of Archie Comics. As you may or may not know, Archie Comics resides in Mamaroneck as of this day. We'll be trying to trace the social patterns and the history of the last 50 years from the time that Archie was born until the present day. Well, what does Archie Comics and these young people have in common? What does Archie Comics and John Quadrini have in common? John Quadrini happens to be the Kiwanis Key Club advisor for Mamaroneck High School. And we have some of the distinguished members of the Kiwanis Key Club with us this evening. And our attempt is to make history relevant to young people. Archie Comics program is a program that is a bridge program between the generations. And now to introduce these young people is John Quadrini.
First of all, I'd like to say that they really do a job. Back when they were collecting donations for the Statue of Liberty, the group of key clubs at the Mamaroneck High School sold chocolate statues, and they raised $1,000 and donated it to the Statue of Liberty. Thank you. And I'd like to introduce our president, Dietrich Dillon, who's doing a wonderful job with the Key Club, and they do a lot of school projects and things like that. Dietrich?
Thank you. Hello, my name's Deirdre Dillon, and I'd like to introduce on the left Danielle Severino and Michelle Lefreri as our treasurers, and on my left Mike Baker as the vice president and Caroline Mulcahy as secretary.
Thank you. And I'd like to officially, on camera and in front of the entire community, welcome you as Mamaroneck's youngest historians. We look forward to working with your club and hopefully as a partnership with the Mamaroneck Historical Society and your school as well.
So remember the date for this special event, February 12th in the Mamaroneck Library Community Room at 8 p.m. Roger?
And that's it for another edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. We have some new times to tell you about. You can catch this program every morning now at 10 a.m. and again weekday nights at 7 and midnight. So about the only day you can't find your local neighborhood news program is on Sunday. Remember, Monday through Saturday mornings at 10 and again every weekday night at 7 and midnight.
And also, you may want to get involved in this program. We're all volunteers, and it's a fun give back to the community. There's plenty to do behind the camera as well as in front of it. Stop by and look us over just about any Thursday night in the LMC-TV studios. It's in the Palmer Avenue unit of Mamaroneck High School.
We start things around 7 o'clock, and you're welcome to stay as long as you like. Thanks for watching Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Roger Norham.
And I'm Bill Littauer, and we'll see you again next week at the same time on LMC-TV, Channel 36.